Hello. Oh, I see already a lot of people. Welcome. 10 minutes before I'm officially starting the tour. Let's see, what do we have? Let me also know if you can hear me well, yes or no, or if you're just seeing my hello Tish, hi Susan. Welcome Trisha. Hi Catherine. Let me know if you can hear me, yes or no, or if you're just seeing my mouth like but without any sound. Hi, Natalie. Welcome. What do we have more? Hi, Susan. Hi, Adrian. Also, welcome in. Uh, so Alice, okay, okay. Hi, Mark. Welcome. Also, it's good that you can hear me well. I'm happy. I'm happy to be back, and I'm standing here on a station. So, and it is almost rush hour. It is rush hour, so it is quite. It's quite busy, and you can see one of the train that's going to Piers. I don't even know where that is. A little place uh, in Belgium. It's just behind me. So let's see. Hi Anna, welcome, welcome Zena. That's good to see you. Hi Cheryl. All welcome in Antwerp, where I am right now. I will start this tour officially in 10 minutes from now. So this is still a time to socialize, to ask every question that you want to ask. So, and it's good to, yeah, and I knew already that the image is good because I'm standing here, by the way, underground. I'm about, what is it? I think about 20 meters underground, so about 60 feet. So in a tunnel, but the connection is perfect. So I think all for the modern travelers. Welcome. Let's see. Do we have more people? People are. If I didn't say your name yet, of course, then I still you're still very welcome. And let's see. This train is delayed. I can see it's delayed with almost 10 minutes. So they have to go almost. Perfect reception. Yeah, that's good. And most probably it will stay a perfect reception because I'm outside of the country. I'm not in the Netherlands, I'm in Belgium. So that means that I can just pick several providers. So that's a nice thing. That's the nice thing of living in Europe that you're at the moment that you're outside of your own country, that you can basically pick every provider that is available and you're paying the same. So it's not that I have to pay extra because I'm using one of the providers. So I can just see like which one has the best reception underground or wherever I'm going. And so that's what I've been doing. And people that are just joining. I see over 20 people already. We still have, what is it, 7 minutes before we start. It's good to be back. I haven't done a lot of virtual tours in the last weeks because I had a little cough. I still have that cough, but it's almost gone now. So I'm happy that it's getting better. So the interesting thing is, I was coughing, and it was over a month. So I thought like, okay, I have to go to see a doctor because I don't like it when it's more than a month and it's not going away. So I got to the doctor and she gave me all kind of things and like a inhalator, and I used that for about 2 weeks, I think, and it was still not getting better. So then she said like, okay, then you have to see the specialist. So I got to see the specialist, and they did several tests, and they were looking into my throat with like a very interesting thing, with like a little camera looking into my throat, and it was going through my nose. It was a little like the COVID test feeling. Um, and then they were saying like, oh, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. The only thing is that your uh, your voice, or how do you call it, the things that where your voice is coming from, yeah, they're a little irritated. So you've been talking too much. You've been talking too much. And I thought like, okay, I'm a guy. Maybe maybe there's a reason for that, that I've been talking a lot. So they basically said you have to talk a little. My vocal cords, exactly. Thank you, Catherine. My vocal cords. I don't know. I know the Dutch name. That is, yeah, that's something that's a little different. But I had to relax a little, scream a little less, using my voice a little less. So I have to. And Linda, okay, your focal course. You know how it is. And of course, I'm also teaching, and I'm really happy that I don't have at this moment 30 kids that are watching at me. That I have to all the time say like, "Don't go there, don't do that." Okay, the train is going, so we almost 5 minutes. Then we start the tour. Um, no, so I've been relaxing a little the last weeks, just talking a little less and having a lot of keeping everything warm, making sure that I'm drinking my ginger tea every day. So it's getting better now. But I still just want to do this tour. Just want to do this tour, and then after the tour, I have to be quiet again for some hours. Yeah, and we're seeing in the meantime. I'm on a station, and we're seeing a lot of trains or Belgium trains. I see some street art or graffiti on the side. So they are they have that more than in the Netherlands, to be honest. But yeah, the public transportation in the Netherlands and also in Belgium is pretty good. Lots of trains going all over the country. So just to give you an idea, I came here today by car, but normally I would have taken the train too, because from Amsterdam to Antwerp by train is about 1.5 hours. So yeah, a little over 1.5 hours. So it's very nearby, and you're even on the route to Paris. So welcome, Tariq. Hi, Linda. By the way, welcome, Lethargy. Uh, hi, CAC Cheng. Oscar is not with me today, so that will be another time. So you just have to do it with me, but there's enough to see, enough to tell. Um, and let's see what's. I'm just checking the time again. It's still 3 minutes, and then we will officially start. So what I'm gonna do already is walking a little towards where I want to start this tour. So this was more to check is do we have reception also just on the lowest level? And yes, we have. We have. Hi, Ronnie, welcome. Also, it's good to see so many familiar faces or names, not faces, but names. From some of you, I know your face. You all know my face. That's always, that to be honest, it's always a little creepy. Uh, but yeah, that's a part of being a virtual tour guide, I think, or streaming tour guide. So I'm just gonna change the screen, and I think it's almost 6 p.m. The 6 p.m. local time. So, and I'm just gonna show you. Wait, I'm just not immediately giving it away. Just first showing you a little the station at the other side. So we are in the lowest level. This is a train into that direction. If you're going far enough, you're coming in Amsterdam, and if you're going the other way, you can end up in Paris. And this is the newer part of the station. Only here the last 15 years now, since 2007. And here you can see a little more that we're standing in a tunnel. So you can go to the top and look at that. Look at what is above us. About 25 meters deep, I'm standing right now. So that's about 75 feet under the normal level of the station. And we will all go up. So, but that will be for later. Encore 2 minutes. Très bien. Merci, Nathalie. Of course, when I'm checking the time over here, I'm checking the time on the clocks of the station, and that one is saying that it's just 30 seconds, and then it is officially 6 p.m. So let's follow the Belgian times. Oh, the interesting thing, by the way, you can see that there are different levels of trains. So to be honest, there are three different levels of trains. So we're standing on one level, there's one level above, and above there's a third level. So I don't know if you've ever seen a station where there are three levels of trains just above each other. So, okay, and now I think officially over here it is 6 p.m. So in Belgium it's 1 minute earlier. Welcome, everyone. My name is Stefan. Welcome in Antwerp. I'm gonna take you in the coming 45 minutes or maybe an hour, I never know, through the beautiful city of Antwerp. And we're gonna see beautiful part. What I'm gonna do to go around is uh, is taking the bicycle, taking the bike because some of the distances are easier to go by bike from one location to another location. And if you joined me already before, then you know that we are at this moment in the central station of Antwerp. Antwerpen Centraal, that's how we call it in Dutch. Antwerp Central Station, and we're on the lowest level right now, about 25 meters under the normal level on the third, on the deepest level where the trains to Amsterdam and to Paris are all arriving and going from over here. And Antwerp Central Station, I think, is one of the most beautiful stations that you can find, at least in Belgium and maybe even worldwide. So, and I'm gonna show you a little more of that. I'm first gonna show you how deep we are, and welcome Leslie also to show you how deep inside the tunnel we are. I'm just gonna show you to the top. We see the station building over there with all the glass on top. Uh, but let's go up. Let's go up. Let's catch the elevator and come a little more nearby the beautiful part of the station. It is rush hour, so a lot of people are waiting for the train. There we go. Aha. There we go. On the, what is it? Escalator, I have to say, not elevator, escalator. Always having problems with these two words. So we're going to the next level. And the interesting thing is that the next level is again a level, although it's halfway, we're almost there. Almost there. And over here, we have, of course, it's not only a train station, you also have over here, we're underground already. So you have the entrance to the metro. As you can see beautifully inside, in the wall, they placed the word metro. And then just we're coming more nearby. We're going to the next level between all the travelers. Going bit by bit to the main building of the station. So, wow, look at this. It's getting more and more beautiful. We have a beautiful day, by the way, outside. It is sunny. So you can see already the sun a little. And I'm now on the next level, and you can see again that there's a train. So also on this level, there are trains. Basically, the lowest level is the international lines, and the two levels on top are more the local lines. So minus one. And we can see at the other side that there are a lot of people that are going down to take their train. And we're coming more nearby the oldest part of the station. And also, this is the original part of the station. The original part of the station that is here already since the start of the 20th century. And we're just getting there. We're now at the next level. Just want to show you. We're on the next level. And we have over here, just the beautiful thing in almost every train station in the Netherlands and Belgium, at least the bigger ones, you have a piano where you can just sit, or someone is just starting to play, and then people can listen to it. And yes, also double-decker trains, that's true. So in the meantime, I was drinking a little, but over here we have the main building of the central station. And the interesting thing is, that this station was, I said it already, built at the end of the 19th, start of the 20th century, in the time that the trains were becoming more and more popular. And then you had these very high stations like what we have over here. The roof is about 42 meters high, so 120 feet above us. And it is beautiful with the sun coming through all the glass. To be honest, this is not glass anymore. This is hard plastic because that's a lot lighter than the glass. So that is better for the steel construction that is on top of this station. And they removed the glass after World War II, after the station had a lot of damage. So they even made plans to completely remove the station. But thanks to plastic, it is saved, or at least the roof is saved. Um, and it is over here, we have the main building. And as you can maybe imagine, this is the main building, and we don't see any train tracks over here. The train tracks are in the tunnel under it, but not on the original station. So originally, this station was a terminus. So it was an end station. And only since the last 15 years, there is now a tunnel for the international train that is going under. So it's not a terminus anymore. Let's go a little. I'm just going a little more to the top to show you a little more of the platform plus one. You can see over here these beautiful steel constructions. And yeah, um, I was following this tour from cathedral to cathedral. And this is the first cathedral. We can say that this is the cathedral of the trains, the cathedral of traffic, beautifully designed and looking a little like what you maybe see more from these old train stations where there's very high ceilings. And does one of you know, by the way, why all these old stations, if you can have them in London, you can have them in New York, in Chicago, also in Amsterdam, they all have these very high seasons. There is a very practical reason for that. So I'm just asking a question. If nobody is knowing the answer, then of course I will tell you. I'm just giving you a little more the view with the tunnel at the end. So I don't see an answer yet. So maybe you're just all typing now. I've always a little delay. But yeah, the answer is if we go back to the time that this station was built, in that time we didn't have electrical trains. No, the trains were all trains that were using steam. And what do you have with steam? Exactly, Trisha, steam. What you have with the steam is that, of course, there's a lot of steam coming out of the trains, and you need some space for that. And at the same time, people wanted to stay dry. So they had to find a solution for that. They wanted to roof, but not that everyone had all the steam that everyone had to breathe all the steam. So that's why stations in that time were having very high ceilings to make sure that the steam or the smoke. Of course, if you're starting a steam train, then there's black smoke coming out, and you don't want to have that uh, in your face. So the main building over here, with of course the central piece is the time. We can see the name of the station, Antwerp, and the beautiful sign of Antwerp. And I will tell you a little more about this later. That is this hand, or is this a dove? Is this a hand or a dove? Just tell me what you think this is. For me, I was first thinking it's a hand, and then when looking at it right now, you can also see me, by the way. It feels more that it's like a dove, a peace dove. So it is what they're saying over here. The name of the sculpture is the vreedzame hand, the peaceful hand. Well, you can maybe understand why that is. And then in the time of building stations like this, and by the way, the uh, style, the interesting style of this station, the architectural style, is basically a mix of all kinds of different styles. So it is very eclectic because the person who designed this station, the architect La Détenière, he used all kind of old styles from Renaissance, Baroque, but also the more modern styles that you can that was normal with all the steel that was used. So it is a very interesting piece of architecture. And then over here on the side, um, you can maybe see the name. It's called the Royal Cafe. This was the entrance just for the royal family and his or her important guests. So the royal family, they were using the station. We can also see that over there. There is you see the sign, there's a big L in the sign, or even two L's, that is standing for Leopold, the king. At that moment, the king of Belgium, Leopold II. That's why there are two L's. And he had his own waiting room. And I can just give you a little peek inside. It's now a nice cafe. It's now a very nice cafe. Sorry, look at this. With all the gold, look at the ceiling. Look at the lights and everything. The royal waiting room. And nowadays, a nice cafe that you can use while you're waiting here for your train. And you can also see there on the top, there's the year 1830. 1830, that was the year that Belgium became independent from the Netherlands. Before that time, it was part of the Netherlands. So the royal waiting room. But let's get a little more inside the station and then inside the city because there's a lot more that I want to show you. And it's a stunning cafe for sure. What do you think for the Royal? And then here at the other side, by the way, this was the originally the highest level. So the highest level. So on this side, the Royal Cafe, and at the other side, it's now empty. That was the first class for the first class passengers. The second and third class, they had their own waiting rooms that were a lot more basic. So of course, the Royal, that was the most luxurious one. Then the first class was still very luxurious with very nice seats, etc. And if you were going, for example, third class, then the benches were just from wood. So if you had to wait, it was not very comfortable. And then here we have the main building of the station. And you can maybe imagine again why we're calling this the cathedral and not a station, not a central station, because it has so much elements that you would normally expect in a church or in a cathedral, and not in just a station. But you have to imagine that in the time that the railways were invented, in of course first that was in the UK, and then a lot more European cities, European countries wanted to have their own train tracks, their own railways, and this was the modern form of the new form of transportation. So they were using a lot and a lot and a lot of money to make sure that everyone was feeling comfortable to take these fast trains, these trains that were a lot faster than traveling by horse or by boat. And that was, of course, what people were used to before. Okay, I'm going outside. I'm going outside because there's some more to see. So imagine again, um, start of the 20th century, start of the 20th century, time of the industrialization, time that a lot of people were, a lot of the cities were dark and brown. And then there were new styles. So the station was new. And also a lot of the buildings that were built around were all in the newer style. So, for example, over here, we have a beautiful, really beautiful building. And if you're coming more nearby, it's very nice now with the sun. That is the golden hour right now. Um, the building over here is really beautiful in the style that we're sometimes calling Art Nouveau. And here in this part in the Netherlands and also in Germany, we're calling this a Jugendstil, a very naturalistic way of designs. And they have been using it. They have been using it for the buildings just around the central station. And not only the buildings, also here at the right side. I'm now a little too late because it's closed already. But we have the two nice sculptures on top. We see pelican, and we see like a, I think it's yeah, what is it? One of the birds here on the right side eating meat. But this is the entrance to what we call in Dutch the dierentuin, or in French the Jardin Zoologique. So this is the entrance to the zoo, the main zoo of Antwerp. The zoo is already here since 1843, so it's even longer over here than the central station. And this is the beautiful entrance, really the beautiful entrance into the zoo. So I have to go back here one day. Yes, there was a lot of money in that time, of course. There was a lot of money to have these new types of buildings. And the interesting thing is that the central station of Antwerp, a little similar to the central station, for example, in Amsterdam and also in some other cities, was built outside of the city center. So not directly in the city center, but a little outside to have enough space. Of course, these train tracks are using a lot more space, so they basically build it outside. And the sign that you can see in a lot of the stations, also not only over here, but also in other parts, that is the, and we can see it over there. I'm just going to zoom in a little. We see over there the wheel with the wings, the wheel with the rings, and this is even a royal wheel with the wings. That was the symbol that was used for the train, because you got wheels, and because of the train was going so much faster than, for example, a carriage, it was feeling that you were flying. And just to, as sometimes people are thinking like, oh, this building looks a lot older than it is. Yeah, but it is not so old. It is really 1905. 1905, since 1905. So what is it? About 120 years old now. But the architect used a lot of older styles like Baroque, like Renaissance style, even Gothical styles. But to show you that it was really a building from 1905, look at the advertisement over here. Look at the, you see telegraph and telephone. So the telegraph and the telephone, they had their building over here. They had their office over here next to the station. So, and of course, the telegraph and the telephone, they were not there 300-400 years ago. They are only here since since the start of the 20th century. There's like a nice wheel now, nice Ferris wheel. I'm not going in there because you never know with me if I can get out. So okay, I'm just walking now towards a bike, and I'm really lucky because Catherine is with me today. Uh, so because I've been doing another tour earlier today, and she prepared already a bicycle for me, and there she is standing. And look who is, hi Catherine, look who is in my bicycle. I thought he was not here, but yeah, he's joining. So I have a beautiful electrical bike. It's not really necessary, but let's uh, let's cycle let's cycle a little. Okay. Oh, it's going immediately. Okay, are you ready? Yes, it is a lovely sky. It's a beautiful day today. This morning it was raining, then it was gray, and just before this tour, I think about 1.5 hours ago, it was just getting open just to, I think they knew that I was going to do a tour over here, and I've done too many tours in the rain. So, okay, we're going into Antwerp. And while going into here, I have to tell you a little bit about this city. So it is already an old city. So there were even some Roman settlements long time, really a long time ago. Uh, but Antwerp became a big and important city around 1500. While we're looking here at the site of the station, around 1500, uh, it became important. Before that time, it was just a small, a small city next to the Scheldt River. And what happened around 1500? If you've been doing, if you've been doing tours with me in other Belgian cities, then you've maybe joined me, and we're going here to the right, by the way. You've maybe seen me while I was touring the city of Bruges. And Bruges was a very beautiful, very powerful city, mainly in the 14th and 15th century. And what happened at the end of the 15th century is that the river next to Bruges, was getting more and more silted. So after a while, most of the boats couldn't reach Bruges anymore. So what happened is that a lot of the traders and merchants, and not only Belgian ones, but from all over Europe, were trying to find a new location. And they were looking around, and they were seeing a small city named Antwerp, or Antwerpen in Dutch. And they were thinking that's maybe a good location. That's maybe a good location to move to. So more and more of these traders and merchants moved to the city of Antwerp to make it in the 16th century to one of the richest city that you could find at that moment in Europe. So in 100 years time only, because of moving all these people, it became really, really rich. And for about 100 years, it was this rich and powerful city. And then about 100 years later, something else happened. The Dutch came into a very long war with the Spaniards. This was after the Reformation. All these wars were about religion. Well, it's still nowadays, isn't it? Or a lot of the wars. Um, so they, I just have to be a little careful over here. You see that there are a lot of people. So I just want to make sure that I'm safe, even more on my electrical bike. Um, no, but uh, the war with the Spaniards started, and Spain was in the 16th century one of the most, maybe the most powerful nation that you could find in Europe. So, what happened is that they were sending their armies to capture the Netherlands, and the Netherlands was at that moment the Netherlands and also what now is Belgium. And Antwerp was one of the more southern cities in the former the Netherlands, and so it was one of the first ones that was attacked. And at the end of the 16th century, it was uh, it fell. Antwerp fell into the hands of the Spaniards, and it became all Catholic again. So from Catholic to Reformed, and then about 60, 70 years later, it became Catholic again under the Spaniards. But not only that, the Spaniards were also doing something else. They were saying like, okay, we need money for our very expensive wars against the Dutch, for example. So what they what they did is they were saying like, okay, from now on we're gonna charge a lot more. We're gonna charge a lot more taxes. So what happened is that a lot of the traders and merchants that stayed for about 100 years in Antwerp, their families went north again. So first from Bruges to Antwerp, and then from Antwerp to the city of Amsterdam. So Amsterdam, Antwerp, and Bruges are really connected to each other. In the meantime, we're standing in front of the beautiful opera building that is also from about 100 years ago. So you see that there's a lot of the buildings that from over here are from the start of the 20th century. All This one is really in a neo-Baroque style, really beautiful with all kind of little details. So very rich. So and the interesting thing is that this is all 100 to 120 years old, and that was the time that it was going well again with Antwerp. In the time between, so between the end of the 16th century and the start of the 20th century, basically it was just a very small city, not very important. Most of the traders left, and it took about more than 200 years before Antwerp was starting to live again. And one of the things to make this city important again was the central station where we were just starting. So they were building that with the idea then travelers can come over here, then businessmen can come over here. But yeah, you're not ready. Only a station is not good enough. So the city of Antwerp was asking several architects to make some new buildings. And here in front of us, I have to be a little careful again because it's rush hour, a lot of people on the streets, as you can see. But here in front of us, uh, on both sides of David Tenier, he was one of the painters, by the way. We have some really beautiful buildings on both sides of the street as a sort of the entrance from the station to the old city center. So here on the right side, also from the start of the 20th century, to be precise, 1906, we see over here the really richly designed neo-Baroque, almost a copy from the building at the other side, although there are differences. And if you love Paris, then you can maybe see also the inspiration that came from Paris, as of course at that moment, the 19th, 20th century, as the big city in Europe, the most powerful city in Europe. So Antwerp wanted to copy a little from the beauty that you can find over there. And that's what we see here on both sides. The building here on the right side, it's now partly offices and some shops. But originally, this was the Grand Hotel Métropole. So one of the main beautiful hotels, five-star hotels, we would nowadays say, that you can find in Antwerp. And yeah, it is really beautifully designed. As you can see, look at all the little details. Sadly enough, the hotel got bankrupt not even that long ago, about 10 years ago. So, and they couldn't find another hotel because the building was in a bad state. So that's why it's now uh, used for all kind of other offices. And of course, the other side is almost as beautiful. So it was not only one architect, they were asking different architects to design buildings on both sides. And by the way, where we are um, cycling right now, this is going bit by bit more to the main street that is going towards the old city center, the old 16th, 17th century city center of Antwerp. And then here on the side, look again at the buildings. It is stunning, isn't it? And the interesting thing is that originally on this location, there were two things. On the sides where we see all the buildings, they were just 15th and 16th century old buildings. And at the start of the 20th century, they were thinking like, okay, let's just remove that because it's too old. It's not in a good condition anymore. So remove it and just add these prestigious buildings. Let's show that we are becoming a rich city again, and it worked. It really worked in getting Antwerp again in a better position economically, at least. So yeah, you can see how beautiful all of this is. Hi. Okay, I'm just going. And we're now, by the way, going into the second part of this now shopping street called the Mare. And the Mare, that is, we're saying Mare over here. That almost sounds like mere, and mere, that means lake. But to be honest, the word Mare is coming from the swamplands that used to be here. There used to be swamplands over here. This is the lower part of the city. And the English, one of the old English words for swamp is moor. More Moor. So uh, that was almost the same word in Dutch. That was the mare. So the mare originally meaning the swamplands. So there was all water and everything over here. Nothing to see from that now anymore. Oh, wow. And then over here, you see there is one after the other beautiful building over here with a lot of gold. This is what we call, or what they call the Stadsfeestel, the city party hall, if I'm saying it correctly, if I'm translating it correctly. So on the inside, there's another beautiful hall. And nowadays, it's also a shopping center. So a lot of the places that originally had that was just hotels and offices and everything. And nowadays, most of these buildings over here are just shopping centers and shops. So, so this is also, I still know when I was a little boy that my parents were sometimes taking me over here to have a day or to have a day of shopping. It's not so far away from the Netherlands. And then one of the only older buildings that you can still see over here, that is the building here on the side. This is a nice 18th century building. So this was so rich that they did not remove it. And I see in the immediate and Leslie is saying, is Belgium a different language to Dutch? No, it's not a different language. It's the same language. So, but of course, there is. If I'm talking to someone from Belgium, the Flemish part, the Dutch-speaking part, then I'm understanding about 95%. So it is a little the difference between, let's say, American English and British English. So their pronunciation is a little different, but we understand each other. And of course, we used to be one country. And nowadays, the interesting thing is with Belgium is that it is a country with two languages. So the northern part, basically the northern part of the country, is speaking Dutch, and the southern part is speaking French. So earlier we were seeing the zoo or the Parc Zoologique or the dierentuin in Dutch. So you could see it in two different languages. Okay. You can see also over here, also the Dutch way of cycling. They also have it over here. And by the way, it's now a beautiful day, of course. Sadly enough, we have over here the palace, one of the palaces, and they're now restoring it. So I cannot show that. So I have to come back another time. But there's a lot more to see a little further in the street. And you can also see that a lot of the buildings are newer. And the reason for that is that um, Antwerp is heavily bombed, both mainly, by the way, in World War One, but again in World War Two. So a lot of the buildings are destroyed, and after both world wars, they rebuilt the city, but not all of the old buildings are rebuilt. So that's why it is now a selection. You can see it's very well over here. You have this beautiful uh, building here on the side, and next to it there is something, I think 1980s or something like that. Really, I would say a very cheap architecture, very functional, of course, but it is it is I would say it is not fitting very well. And then over here in front of us, we have for a long time the only skyscraper that you could find in Belgium, the first high skyscraper, the second highest building in the city after the tower of the cathedral, where we will be later. And it is it's quite an interesting building, also about 100 years old. So the 1920s when this was built. So uh, and I'm just coming. Let's come a little more nearby. Just have to follow. I'm just going to red. I don't know. I'm used to not stop for red. Don't tell anyone else. No, it's now called the KBC building. That is the company. That is the basically the telephone company, one of the telephone companies. I'm now going here to the right to get into the old city center because there's more to see. I want to show you more. We see over here the letters Antwerp, Antwerpen, beautiful graffiti, and then on the side, look at this. The You can easily recognize the city of Antwerp looking at tower, the belfry tower of the main cathedral in the city, the main church in the city, the cathedral of our beloved Lady, that is in the middle of the old city center. In the old city center, there's still some streets that are not demolished, so we will go over there. And exactly, it's maybe you can call it a dialect. Flemish and Dutch. So, but Flemish and Dutch, it's basically the same language as it is with, yeah, as it is with Welsh. And although Welsh, if you're really listening to Welsh, that's for me very hard to understand. So I think it's more like American and British English. Look, by the way, at the light over here. I have to be a little careful. A lot of people here on the street, and I'm here on the bike. I'm almost at the end part. Just oh, okay. Someone hit me now. It was not my fault. I have to use my eye everywhere. Okay, on the side. Look how beautiful it is in the light of the evening. The Church of Our Beloved Lady. Um, they started building this. There was originally a Romanesque church, and then in the 14th century, to be precise, in the sorry. No, in the 14th century, they started building this, and 117 years later, so it took a long time, they finished the church. Although, as you can see, they not completely finished it. They have one tower, and at the left side, if you look at my finger over there, and Oscar is okay. Yeah, Oscar is fine. At the left side, there is a second tower. There's a second tower, and that tower is not completely finished. So half finished is the front part. The rest of the church, the rest of the cathedral, by the way, is completely finished. So I'm just going to see if we can come a little more nearby. And what you always have to do in these kind of cities, not only look around, but also look up. Look up to see the beautiful tops of houses, the facades of houses, but it can also be, like, for example, over here, the high tower of the cathedral. Inside Inside the cathedral, there are some of the most famous paintings of the Flemish painter Peter Paul Rubens, and he's quite famous. After 8 years in Italy, he came back and he started to paint over here in a very Baroque style paintings. And inside over here, you have two of his most famous paintings, uh, the Descendants of the Cross and Rise of the Cross. So both altar pieces that can be found inside. Wait, I'm just going a little so I can show you a little more. My screen is not big enough. My screen is not big enough to completely fill it. Wow. And look how beautiful the spire is and how beautiful the sky is for us this evening. So yeah, this is the biggest cathedral, the biggest church in Belgium, by the way. The spire is almost 124 meters high, 404 feet in total. It's also the highest belfry tower that you can find in Belgium. And the interesting thing is that in the 14th and 15th century, between several Belgium cities, there was really a competition: who has the tallest, and then who has the tallest tower. So, for example, in the cities of Ghent and Bruges, but also in Brussels and Leuven, they were building high towers, but this one was just several meters, several feet higher than all the other ones. So, inside the paintings of Rubens. And maybe some of you know the beautiful story about one of the biggest fans from Peter Paul Rubens. And there's a beautiful story about it named The Dog of Flanders. And it's not very famous, by the way, in the Netherlands and in Belgium itself, but it's quite famous in the English speaking part of the world. And by the way, also in Asia, in several countries. And um, to tell this story, I've done, by the way, earlier a whole tour about the Dog of Flanders, but I'm just gonna show you for a moment to tell you this story. And it's a story that was over here. Of course, it's a beautiful myth, and we have to go back about 300 years ago. About 300 years ago, In Belgium, not so far away from Antwerp, there was a little boy, and this little boy was called Nello. And Nello, he lost his parents, so he was an orphan at a young age, and he almost had nobody in his life to take care of him anymore. But there was only one of his grandparents, his old granddad, that was living just outside of Antwerp, and he was saying like, "Okay, I will take care of you." The only thing is that this man, he was named Johan or Jehan, he was not very rich. No, he was very poor even. So he said to Nello, "Okay, you can live here, but you have to help me and you have to work for me a little. So to make sure that we can stay over here, that we can live over here." So of course, Nello was really happy, started helping his grandpa with bringing the milk. They were bringing the milk with a little cart from house to house. And then on one day, they were walking alongside the street, and then on the side of the street, they were hearing a sound. They were hearing a sound from a dog. And when they were coming more nearby, they were seeing that there was a dog laying on the side of the street, and that dog was beaten. That was really almost beaten to death. So at first, the dog didn't want them to come nearby, but bit by bit, he started to trust them. And they decided, let's take this dog home, take this dog home, and they were naming him Patrash, giving him food, giving him a lot of love. And Nello and Patrash became the best friends. The best friends. So Patrash was helping with carrying the cart to get the milk to different locations. And then one day, there are a lot of extra things in the stories that I'm not going to tell. But then one day, Jehan, he died. Sadly enough, he died. And then the owner of the house said almost immediately, "Okay, Nello and Patrash, I don't want you in the house anymore. And you can also not pay for it. So you have to go outside." And the sad thing is that this was in the middle of the winter, just before 2 days before Christmas. And Nello was thinking like, okay, then I have to go outside. And what I didn't tell you yet is that Nello, in his free time, he loved to paint. He really loved to paint. And one of his the most famous painters, and the one that he loved the most, that was Peter Paul Rubens. So he was thinking, maybe we can go to the city of Antwerp. Maybe we can find a place to sleep, and at least I'm so sad because of my grandpa, but at least I want to see the descendant of the cross of Peter Paul Rubens again. So they made their way, they started walking, and then they arrived in Antwerp on the day before Christmas, so Christmas Eve, and they were wanted to go inside the cathedral to see the altarpieces of Peter Paul Rubens. But the thing is, at that moment there was an exhibition, so he had to pay, and of course he didn't have money at all, so he couldn't go inside. So they were sitting here asking some food from people, getting more and more cold. And then in the evening, they found out when everyone was already home, it was in the almost in the middle of the night, they found out that one of the doors was open. So they got inside the church, still freezing. It was still very cold, but they got inside, and they finally found the altarpiece. And then Nello and Patrash warming each other next to each other, warming each other. They were sitting in front of the altarpiece and trying to keep each other warm. And then they fell asleep. The next morning, people were going to church for Christmas time. And when they were going inside, they were seeing a little boy and a dog laying on the floor, both of them or died. Both of them died. Both of them, because of the extreme cold of that night, they didn't survive. But they were found in each other's arms, trying to keep each other warm in front of the altarpiece. And because of this, the end is this very sad end of this story. But because this is such a famous story, what they did some years ago, and I'm now just going to change the screen again, in front of this beautiful church, they placed a sign. They placed a big statue of Nello and Patrash. So, and I just want to show you a little more, coming a little more nearby. You can see there are more people taking pictures and everything. So, just going a little higher. beautifully made inside the street. It looks like they are having some sheets over them from the street. And over there, that's where they are laying. I think it is a beautiful story from a boy and his dog. And yeah, it is, of course, connected to this cathedral, connected to Peter Paul Rubens, connected to the history of um, the history of this city. Okay. Um, just oh, I see some tears even in the eyes of Oscar. Are you okay, Oscar? He's a little sad hearing this story. You're not cold. You're not cold. No. Okay. Good. And it's a beautiful statue, isn't it? Yeah, I completely agree. Let's show you a little more. If you still, I'm already almost an hour, but I want to show you something. Oh, there we go. And yes, I did this tour before. I did read the full story of a dog of Flanders for Christmas 2 years ago. So it is still somewhere on my YouTube channel uh, if you want to listen to it. It's of course not a very happy story, but I think a beautiful story. I'm talking about beautiful things. Look where we are right now. The central square, the central square of Antwerp, showing how rich this city was in the 16th century. So and that's what I can show you over here while we're looking at these buildings here on the side. And all these buildings, they are so-called guild houses. Different guilds in Antwerp, and they all had their own place, their own, let's call it an office, where they were making trade deals. So think about the guild of the carpenters or the guild of the sailors. Almost every type of job had their own guilds that were trying to make money for everyone in the city that was doing the same job. And you can see over here uh, the square is a little bigger, a lot bigger to be honest. And then over there on the side, we have this beautiful tower again. It's nice with the clouds, isn't it? So you can also imagine why all these Dutch and Flemish painters, why they were always painting skies. Because the skies over here, in combination with what you see from the city, are stunning, isn't it? And then over there at the other side, we see some more of the guild houses, all with the beautiful facades. It is a little like Amsterdam style, but again, also a little different. Okay, and then over here in the middle part, we have another building, and this is a typical building from the Renaissance, 16th century. The Italian style became in the 16th century very popular, not only in the paintings of Rubens, but also in the architectural style. And this was the new big, the big new city hall of Antwerp, from a city that was becoming extremely rich. So it is a wonderful building still. And on top uh, there's a bird again on top, and you can see all these elements that you normally would expect in more Greek and Roman buildings. So that's why it is called the Renaissance. And then here in the middle part, we have something else. We have, uh, we're going from myth to myth, and this is a very important one. I just want to show you the one over here. Um, I'm just going a little to the side so we can see it better. We see on top there's a man. There's a man, and he has. Can you see what he has in his hands? What is this man holding? I'm just gonna zoom in a little so you can see it better. This man, what does he have in his hand? He has a giant hand in his hand. And he's throwing that. He's throwing the giant hand. And at the meantime, there is, yeah, what is there's water coming. I think that is depicting blood still coming outside of the hand. And who is this man? This man is called Brabo, and he was a hero. And why was Brabo a hero? And for that, we have to go back a little more in time. The story goes that the city of Antwerp on the river Scheldt, that of course there was a lot of trade, but on the borders of the river, there was a giant living. And this giant was called Antigoon. And the giant Antigoon, when someone when a trader wanted to pass, they had to pay toll to Antigoon, otherwise he would not let them pass. And if you did not have money with you, then the only other way was then he was cutting off your hand to make sure that if you couldn't pay, he was cutting off your hand. And for a very long time, this was what was happening over here in the city of Antwerp until we had that hero named Brabo, and he came over here and he was attacking the giant. He won in a fight, and in the end, he cut off not only his hand, by the way, you can also see the head of the giant, and the giant himself is laying over here. So we can see the body of the giant laying here in the water. Here is where the head used to be. You see there, it's spitting blood out of the head. We can also see the end of his arm over here. Also, the blood is still coming out. So, and what Brabo was doing in the end, he cut off the hand and he was throwing the hand inside the river. And that is really depicting Antwerp. And I have to tell you a little about Dutch. I'm not talking so much in Dutch. So, but I said already, um, what is this man doing? He is holding a hand. He's holding a big hand of the giant. And what is throwing in Dutch? Throwing, the Dutch word for throwing is werpen. So basically, it is saying hand werpen, hand werpen, almost the name of the city. So the story goes that the name Antwerpen, Antwerp, is coming from Handwerpen, so from throwing hands in the river. So, and yes, it is a David and Goliath moment for sure, Susan. You're completely right. So that is the famous myth where the name Antwerpen, Handwerpen, is coming from. Okay, and because the sky is so beautiful, what I want to do, let's take my bike again. I'm gonna take you towards the river because we've been talking about Scheldt River. If you have 5 more minutes, then I can take you over there. Ah, I have to cycle over the cobblestones. Whoop. Okay, cycle over the cobblestones. To be a little careful. Whoop. And there we go. This side, the street over here. The river is very nearby. Okay. Yeah, it is a sort of a David and Goliath story. That's true. That's true. And you see with a lot of these stories that there are connections, of course, connections to other stories. That's also with the story of Nello and Patrash. So you can find elements that you can also find in, for example, The Girl with the Matchsticks. So also another famous one, and that has a little similar ending as the story of Nello and Patrash. So as the boy of Flanders. Let me note the party at the other side where you have a beautiful view over Scheldt River is not available at the moment. So, but we can still, okay, let's go to the other side. Ooh, going over the train tracks. There's normally a beautiful viewpoint here on the side where you can look over the river. When I was arriving this morning, I have to tell you why was I in Antwerp today is because this morning I did a virtual tour for a project that's called Art in History, and I'm I've been doing several tours for them already. Basically, the connection of a painter with a city. So today that I did a tour inside the church, inside the cathedral that we were just seeing, showing the work of Rubens. And when I was there in the morning, it was really there were a lot of river cruises that were just getting inside. So Antwerp is really a river cruise city too. And you can imagine that with this river over here, and you can basically sail quite easily sail inside. Okay, and then here on the side we have one of the last fortifications of the old city. It's called the Het Steen, the stone. And the stone is the fortification next to the river that was protecting the old city center. And now one of the river cruises is just next to it. So over here we have the castle, and I have an electrical bike, so this is easy. I can quite easily go up. And over here we have another depiction, by the way, of the giant. Of the giant. Look at this. We have Antigoon again. And we can see the little people just looking to the giant. So it's a nice one. So okay, I'm just going up. Yeah, yeah, you are. Hi. Yes. Just going. There are little kids now going behind me. Okay, over here we have another beautiful view. And the sky is amazing, isn't it? Okay, just gonna park over here. Okay, come on, Oscar, come with me. So here on the side, we have the beautiful view over the city with a nice sky. It's just after sunset. And yeah, it is a nice castle, isn't it? And here we're looking upstream. If we're lucky, by the way, this evening we will have the Northern Light again. That was the last night, although I didn't see a lot from it. I was asleep because I had to be uh, very early already inside in Antwerp. So maybe this evening I can see a little of the Northern Light. But at least I have shown you a um, beautiful end of the day with a sunset and some amazing skies. Okay, just you see, there's also a newer building and some newer architecture, and that's also typical in the city of Antwerp. So it's one of the last shots. So you see we have the old stone, the old castle, and then at the other side, some 19th century buildings. And then next to these buildings, you have the really modern, beautiful apartments with a nice view all over the water. So this is the modern and old Amsterdam, Antwerp, just in one shot. And Oscar really liked it. I think he's getting a little cold now because the sun is down, so the temperature is dropping already. So I'm just gonna show you my face for a last moment. I hope you enjoyed uh, to see some of Antwerp, to hear some of the myths, to hear some of the stories, to see at least two cathedrals in one tour, one only from the outside, the other one from the inside, and maybe one day can come back to do another tour from the inside. And yeah, if you enjoyed this tour, then of course you can always leave me a tip. That is for me the way how I can keep on doing these tours. So there will be more to them. I still have to make sure that my voice is coming back, and that my vocal cords are really in a great shape again. So, but I hope you enjoyed it. In the meantime, I'm trying to do at least one tour per week. In wintertime, there will be several tours from inside. So we're gonna do several tours about art. I was a little inspired again today, and I thought maybe I can even do a tour about the work of Rubens, because I know now so much so much about it. So, and it's amazing to see his paintings. So that will be in wintertime, or at least the coming months, more tours from inside. But next to that, I'm still adding, and some of you have maybe seen that I have now a TikTok account. I'm really modern. I'm adding a lot of short, trying to do 1 to 2 little clips per day. Some are funny, some are a little more serious, some are just parts of the cities in the Netherlands and in Belgium where I'm going to, and it's nice also to follow that. So if you don't not follow me yet, you can also follow me on TikTok for every day some little videos about all kind of things. So thank you for joining. So and thank you even for people that are feeding the baby and still watching the tour. So thank you again for joining, and I hope to see you again on the next tour. And I don't know where that will be, but most probably there will be next week, if the weather is good, the tour from somewhere in Amsterdam. Bye bye.